Well, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hello everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Well, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Come back to Teaching English to Young Learner class. And we're in week 7. Well, today we are talking about teaching speaking to young learners. What comes on your mind about how to teach speaking? Okay, now focus to this verse about teaching speaking itself and also about young learners. Teaching speaking has been undervalued and English language teachers here have continued to teach speaking just as a repetition of drills or memorization of a dialogues. You remember to your English teacher when you were in an elementary school. Most of the teachers here ask you to repeat their words, right? And then you are asked by them to memorize those words. But we can do more, not only that. Okay, later we talk about it. Young learners, we remember that individuals of very early age who are interested in many new things such as foreign language, English. Remember for those kind, we teach speaking and also about young learners. We remember that our students is young learners. You know about the characteristic of them, so you have to integrate and consider about them. Next, talking about meaning of speaking. Speaking is the process of building and sharing meaning through the use of verbal and nonverbal symbols in a variety of contexts. Speaking is a crucial part of second language learning and teaching. Despite its importance, for many years, teaching speaking has been undervalued and English language teachers have continued to teach speaking just as a repetition of drills or memorization of a dialogues. I remember when I took a course in junior high school, if I'm mistaken, the teachers always ask me to memorize the dialogues. Even though I don't know the meaning of the dialogues, but they ask me to memorize it. But then they ask me and my friends to have a role play then. Of course, it takes time because we have to know what is the meaning then before taking a role play. Okay. Characteristic of spoken language. Speaking is a skill, just like a swimming, or driving a car, or playing ping pong. Okay? Too often in the traditional classroom, the learning of English has been relegated to linguistic knowledge only. For example, knowledge of vocabulary and grammar rules, with little or no attention paid to practicing language skill. Remember that. Speaking is a skill. So you have to practice more and more. And it is not about the vocabulary, it's not about the grammar rules, but in that speaking area, you learned about that. Okay? Spontaneity. In most situations, people do not plan ahead of time what they are going to say. The fact that speech is so spontaneous means that it is full of false starts, repetition, incomplete sentences, and short phrases. Now, should we expect the students to produce complete sentences in language classroom? You can imagine Is that what you expect to your students later? Because in speaking, there is a spontaneity. Okay? There is a false start, repetition. Just now I explained to you, I make a repetition, right? Okay. Okay, now we go to time constraint. The students must be able to produce unplanned utterances in real time. Otherwise, people will not have the patience to listen to them. You have to consider which of the following activities do you think will help to prepare students for real-life speech in English. So here, if you want to take a topic, just try to relate them with their real life. It means that the students will find it in their real life. And then we have to provide any vocabulary that would be introduced to them to make them more easier and more comprehend to what other people say. Many language learners regard speaking ability as the measure of knowing a language. Language learners need to recognize that speaking involves three areas of knowledge. They are mechanics, functions, social and cultural rules and norms. For mechanics, about pronunciation, grammar, and vocabulary. Function, just like transaction and interaction. And for the social and cultural rules and norms, turn taking, rate of speech, length of pauses between speakers, relative roles of participants. Okay, that's you have to recognize. Here we go. In teaching speaking to young learners, we have to talk more about knowing the basics, motivating students to speak, strategies that encourage participation, method to speaking, and technique to teach speak. Well, how it looks like. Teaching speaking for young learners is an interesting and challenging duty for teachers for some considerations. In one hand, there are individuals of very early age who are interested in many new things such as a foreign language, English. In this level, young learners seems to have the same proficiency in speaking that is novice level. The characteristic of a novice level here is the student's ability to communicate minimally with learned material, and oral production consists of isolated words and perhaps a few high-frequency phrases, essentially no functional communication ability. Now we go to knowing the basics. Young learners are like sponges. They soak up everything we say and how we say it. This clear and correct pronunciation is of vital importance since young learners repeat exactly what they hear. What has been learned at an early stage is difficult to change later on. One of the rules that apply here is slowly and steadily through constant revision and recycling. Based on this statement, later if you are going to teach young learners, you have to be patient, take more time to practice, to let your students to revise their pronunciations. Since young learners here, yeah, will put the information of vocabulary, how to say it, how to pronounce it in their long-term memory. So you have to give immediate feedback through this kind of mistakes. Okay, because it is difficult to change later on. For example, if you wanna ask them to say tomat as tomato, and then your students will say tomato, so you have to revise it soon by saying again tomato. So you make a clarification, you make immediate feedback to them. In order to, they will repeat it, the words. Okay? They will use that kind of pronunciation and remember what you are saying. And it will be difficult to change later on. So you have to be careful to say the pronunciation, to say the words. Okay. Next. You always strive to achieve a positive and relaxed atmosphere in your learner's classroom, as this proves a decisive factor in achieving maximum results. With the help of mixed activities such as dialogues, choral repetition, chants, songs, poems, and rhymes, students' speaking abilities will grow. Their pronunciation gets better and their awareness of the language improves. Then, interaction. It is an important way of learning. Therefore, increased oral emphasis should be included in our teaching to give the students as much speaking time as possible. Now we go to motivating students to speak. To motivate students in EFL contexts, teachers should include many activities and strategies that attract students' attention and make them interested in the lesson. The first, activities need to be child-centered and communication should be authentic. Second, the teacher should consider in the activities a focus on meaning and value, not correctness, a focus on collaboration and social development, the provision of a rich context, and teaching the four skills through a variety of activities. Strategies that encourage participation. To motivate students in EFL context, in English as a foreign language context, teachers should include many activities and strategies that attract the students' attention and make them interested in the lesson. The teacher can use the model for teaching young learners by using IPA, imitating, practicing, control autonomy, as the other strategy, since the children love imitating. Okay, method to teach speaking. There are many methods to teach speaking. It can be interviewing someone or being interviewed, drilling, learning the dialogues, reading aloud, songs, poems, rhyme, just chants. And we have to consider designing speaking tasks and also remember with the characteristic of successful speaking tasks. Now, we elaborate more that. Okay, learning the dialogues. Learning dialogues by heart. Yeah, it is much better and far more useful to substitute the words so that they are true to the students and their word. Students uses his or her own variation. There is an obvious transition from pure imitation to conscious changing, which speed up remembering and offers varied communicative opportunities. By imitating, sharing, and discussing, students benefit. Modeling, understanding, and picking it up seems to be natural. How about song, poems, rhyme, and chants? We have talked about this at the previous meeting. Using songs, poems, rhymes, and chants is a wonderful way of making students sing or talk at the same time, unconsciously. Work at their grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation. Try to include the above-mentioned activities by providing learners with those that require total physical response, shortly known as TPR. We've talked about it. Reading aloud. Reading aloud will get you used to hearing your own voice and help you become more comfortable with delivering written material orally. It can also help you build your vocabulary so that you will stumble less frequently when speaking unfamiliar words. How about interviewing someone or being interviewed? Just like in this picture, the teacher is trying to interview the child here, the boy, yeah. Actually, it helps to prepare students for real life speech. So having this kind of interaction, it is an example of communication that happen in their real life. So this is preparation for them. Well, drilling. You're more familiar with drilling, yeah? At its simplest, drilling means listening to a model provided by the teacher or a tape or another student and repeating what is heard. This is a repetition drill, a technique that is still used by many teachers when introducing new language items to their students. The teacher says, as models, the word or phrase and the students repeat it. You remember about your elementary level, elementary schools? Okay, your teacher is trying to say a word and then you have to repeat after them, right? Next, other types of drill include substitution drills or question and answer drills. Substitution drills can be used to practice different structures or vocabulary items. For example, one or more words changed during the drill. For example, I go to work. He goes to work. So the teacher here, yeah, give an example by saying, I go to work. And then he points somebody, or the teacher said directly, he, and then the students directly respond, he goes to work. You can see there is a substitution here. Yeah, the subject substitution. And of course, yeah, we are not really aware with the change of a verb there. Okay, go change to goes. Since the subject is he, we have to change go to goes, right? Next. In a question and answer drills, the prompt is a question and the response the answer. This is used for practicing common agency pairs such as what's the matter? I've got a headache. Or can I have a pen, please? Yes, here you are. The words in brackets here can be substituted during the drill. So you can change the word headache to stomachache, or perhaps eye sore. Here in the bracket pen, you can change it to pencil, eraser. Okay, it will be meaningful. In all drill In all drills, learners have no or very little choice over what is said. So drills are a form of very controlled practice. There is one correct answer and the main focus is on getting it right. For example, on accuracy. Drills are usually conducted chorally. For example, the whole class repeats, then individually. There is also the possibility of groups of pairs or pair of the students here doing language drills together. For example, if our focus is substituting the subject, so we have to change the subject. Okay, we ask them to choose directly the subject, or if we focus to the object or about the illness or about the things, okay, just try to make the students here focus on that idea. If at that time you teach about the things, so you can use those example above. Can I have a pen here? Pen. So you ask your students to change pen into another things. Okay. 1. Designing speaking tasks. Designing speaking tasks by having group work or pair work. And one important consideration is about proficiency level of the students. You have to remember, you have to give the challenge one, but not too difficult, since they are young learners. Next, if the task is too easy or too difficult, the students may be demotivated. They will get bored or do not want to have that activities. I'll show you the advantages of using group work. In a group work, more opportunities, more motivation, more authenticity, different levels, more cooperation. Okay, you know that group work make the students, let's say that the student is so silent enough, but then after he or she is gathering with the other students, he or she becomes more active. Okay, it will challenge them to say anything, try to share their ideas. Okay, and then for the different levels of proficiency, it will help each other, and it will be more challenging because they need cooperation among the members of the group. And the example of group work is information gap activities. What is information gap activities? It is an activity where learners are missing the information they need to complete a task and need to talk to each other to find it. Here I provide a picture. Okay, different picture actually. And here we provide two handout. Actually the same task but different pictures. The same task, different pictures. In these information gap activities, you can see that the students A here only have some pictures. Yeah, for even number, right? And then for student on the next slide, he or she has the pictures of odd numbers. And here you have to change information using the controlled question, just like what is he or she doing in picture A. And then students B will answer he or she is. For example, in students B picture we have number 2 is listening to music. So later students A will draw a picture related to listening to music then. Okay. Vice versa. The students B asking to the students A related to number 1 because student A has number 1 and students B do not have the answer for number 1, and then she asks or he asks to student A, what is he or she doing in picture number 1? Okay, you got the point? So here, from these activities, the students are trying to find out some information to complete the task. They should ask their friends to fulfill it. Next example. Here I provide A and B picture. Yeah, there is an example there. Actually, from the picture we can see there is a name without last name. There is a first name, there is no last name. There is last name, but there is no first name. And then you ask your students here to ask their partner to find out the first name and, of course, the last name. Student A has the first name, but the student B has the last name. So they are cooperating each other to find out, to complete those tasks, right? So here in information gap activities require students to speak and to practice teamwork, working with their classmates to acquire the missing information. Once they have learned the information from their classmates, they can fill the gap and complete the task or activity. Next, we can design a dialogues and role play. For example, playing the roles in a dialogue. So you provide a dialogue and then ask the students to practice the dialogue in pairs. For example here, what time is it? It's 3. Why? Oh, I need to go to the store. Do you want to come? Okay, just a minute. I need to finish this first. After that, you can ask them to perform the dialogue in front of the whole class, speaking in different moods such as happy, irritated, bored, or in a different role relationship such as parent and a child, husband and wife, true friends, grandmother to the grandchildren. You can almost modify those activities. Okay? Here I'll tell you about the factors that affect the success of role plays from in 1996. The first is about teachers' enthusiasm, careful instruction, clear situation and rules, and the last, making sure that students have the language they will need to carry out the role play. So here, relate to those factors. The teachers should be enthusiastic, make the students involved in that kind of activities. Try to guide them to the situation and their rules. And make sure that students have the word or vocabulary related to the role play. Remember, you have to give the clear and careful instruction. Next, what we can do, find someone who. Here I provide a picture that you should give to your students. Yeah. And then ask them to stand up and walk around the room. Ask your classmate who has done housework. Remember, you must speak in English only. So, here you have to provide an example question when they try to find someone. Just like we have here, have you ever done the cooking? Okay, yes, I have done the cooking many times. And then you ask or you write down the name of your friends there. Okay, got it? Actually, you can change any other activities related to find someone who. You can use bingo style. So in bingo style, you provide what's that? Tables, many tables there, and then uh, they have to find out someone who connected with those question in the box or in the tables. And if they have fulfilled in vertical or horizontal or diagonal row here, they should say bingo. It means that they fulfill the task and they are the winner. Okay, this is an example. You can modify to any topics. Yeah. Well, the last I say, the more you listen, the more you speak. Since you are becoming a teacher of English, you have to give a great model. You have to say in a good pronunciation. You have to say many words that make them all remember and enthusiastic. Since they will remember your pronunciations, since they will imitate, and of course they will say based on their hearing from your pronunciation. Give them many vocabulary of English that makes the students getting more exposure to new vocabularies. The more vocabulary that they got, the more they have a good pronunciation from you, later they will speak and saying in a good pronunciation too. Remember, try to give a good model to your students. Okay? The more you listen, the more you speak. Thank you very much for today. See you in the next meeting. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.